Hello and welcome to News Round, the recap of stories that made headlines during the week. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. The headlines. INEC National Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu makes presentation at Chatham House, London, says the Commission is ready to conduct the polls as scheduled. The National Peace Committee meets with presidential candidates of political parties in Abuja, raises concern over what it describes as violations of recent peace accord by some of the parties. Supreme Court restores former Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Mr. Godswill Akpabio, as the APC candidate for Akwa Ibom North Senatorial District. And at least 15 people, including Ukraine's Interior Minister, die in helicopter crash near a nursery robbery town on the eastern outskirts of the Ukrainian capital, Kiev. That's News Round in View. The dates for this year's general elections are cast in stone, and that's according to the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, who made his presentation at Chatham House, London. Professor Yakubu seized the opportunity to assure the international community of INEC's impartiality and resolve to meet the expectations of Nigerians.
This coming election in the continent's most populous country is shaping up to be an exceptional event. The fanfare and theatrics that had accompanied previous speakers at Chatham House was strikingly absent today. In its place, though, a strong feeling of enormous expectations, which Professor Yakubu attempted to ease.
It is exactly 38 days to the next general election in Nigeria, which I have both the privilege and challenge of leading its proper delivery. Elections in Nigeria have become events that attract extensive international attention and concern, not only because of the sheer size of the deployment, but also because of the importance of Nigeria in Africa, and most particularly in the West Africa sub-region. Understandably, therefore, there are enormous expectations, both within Nigeria and internationally, about the conduct and management of the 2023 general election. The expectations place a great responsibility on the election management body, the Independent National Electoral Commission. We are not taking these responsibilities lightly. We appreciate that there are challenges and concerns, but we also realize that there is enormous goodwill and support, both in Nigeria and beyond. Consequently, we believe that by forthrightly sharing our experiences and discussing the challenges openly, we can surmount the challenges and ensure that our elections in Nigeria continue to get better. May I, on this note, once again reiterate our position that the Commission is not contemplating, let alone planning, to postpone the 2023 general election. We are going ahead to conduct the election as scheduled.
Free, fair, and credible elections is what the Commission chief has promised the international community. But the threats facing Nigeria are multiple and widespread.
A lot of vote buying and vote selling transactions have to do with the level of ballot secrecy. So how is INEC going to improve and guarantee ballot secrecy in the upcoming elections?
The BVAS system has been used before, but not without teething problems, especially in the recent governorship election. What guarantees can you give to the Nigerian people that all the problems have been ironed out and it's going to work properly when it's counting 90 million votes?
But we have the machines for the 2023 general elections, but we didn't want to take chances. Each and every machine has been tested and confirmed that the machine is functional. So actually, for the last 2 weeks or so, our officials were in all the states of the Federation testing those machines. And the functionality of the machines is simply very encouraging. So we'll not take chances. The second thing we are going to do, and pretty soon, is to conduct mock accreditation exercise nationwide ahead of the election. But what is all this talk about vote buying? It is also for us an indication of the progress that we are making in our democracy, because it is becoming increasingly clear to everyone that the votes are counting at the end of the day, and I've said this consistently, is enforcement of the laws. There are laws, but the laws are not enforced. So let me seize the opportunity to renew our appeal as a commission for the National Assembly in Nigeria to speedily pass the Electoral Offences Commission bill.
Discourse at this Royal Institute of International Affairs, though important, is unlikely to influence voters back home. While INEC can assure the international community it is doing all it can to tackle logistical delays, violence, fraud and vote buying, what actually occurs on February the 25th will be recorded in the legacy of Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. Juliana Olayinka, Channels TV News, London.
It's exactly 5 weeks to the general election, and as political campaigns gather momentum, the National Peace Committee is concerned about infractions to the peace accord in the build-up. For this reason, members of the committee have been meeting with presidential candidates, INEC, the police and civil society in Abuja, with a view to reaching a common ground towards ensuring a hitch-free exercise. After the meeting at the Transcourt Hilton, a member of the committee and chairman, Channels Media Group, Dr. John Momo, was nominated by the committee to address the media on the outcome.
The National Peace Committee meeting holds in Abuja with stakeholders and presidential candidates of political parties in attendance. Notably absent at this meeting are the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, as well as the candidate and running mate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi and Mr. Dati Ahmed. The meeting begins with a complaint from the candidate of the African Action Congress, Omoyele Sowore, who complains that the seating arrangements in the hall should match the way parties are represented on the ballot paper.
It happened at the ICC, sir. The vice president of the APC sat in front of me because their presidential candidate could not come. It's not acceptable.
All right. I have heard you. For the purpose of this meeting, we have taken note of your observation. However, I will still beg you, let's go on with the meeting. I have taken note of your observation, and I'm going to see what can be done in the next meeting.
After the chairman of the Peace Committee notes Mr. Showore's complaint, he addresses the political parties on the purpose of this meeting.
You may recall that on the 29th of September 2022, that is last year, we invited all of you for the signing of the Peace Accord at the International Conference Center, Abuja. You may also recall that we placed advertisements in all major newspapers and the social media, calling all presidential candidates to be mindful of the concerns of Nigerians on such issues as the need to use temperate language, avoiding raising the tone of violence, and to conduct themselves in a manner that does not undermine the electoral process. We are not here to listen to accusations and counter-accusations. We are not here to trade blames, but to raise issues and concerns so that we can explore the best means of resolving these concerns.
The media is excused and the meeting goes into a closed-door session. 3 hours later, the meeting ends, and as the candidates make their way out of the venue, a member of the National Peace Committee and chairman of Channels Media Group, Mr. John Momo, is nominated by the Peace Committee to address the media on the outcome of the meeting.
I think some of the parties have been fingered, particularly the supporters and some of the spokesmen. What the chairman is saying and what the peace committee is saying is that you could focus on issues instead of being personality based, and instead of insulting one another, instead of name callings, and instead of trying to bring people to disrepute. And I think that sank. It went well with most of them, but we'll wait and see. But at the end of the day, I think that there's need for more interaction amongst the political party representatives, because this will help.
A peaceful, free and fair electoral process is in the interest of all Nigerians, and that's what this peace committee seeks to achieve with these series of meetings, identifying ways that the peace accord has been broken and finding a way to solve those issues before the elections. Hopefully, a lot of the problems identified at today's meeting will be sorted out before the elections at the end of February. Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
As politicians canvass for votes ahead of the general elections, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, is asking them to guard their utterances against incitement. The Speaker stated this as the lawmakers held the first plenary of the year, the last in the life of the 9th Assembly.
Excited to see each other again, members of the House of Representatives exchange pleasantries as the Speaker makes his way to preside over the first plenary of the year. He commences with a welcome address and charges his colleagues on good conduct ahead of the elections.
There has been a marked increase in incidents of insecurity and vicious attacks on political actors in parts of the country. We must unite to ensure this dangerous trend does not lead to circumstances that threaten the forthcoming elections. The quality of the political conversations in society, particularly in the lead-up to elections, is a determining factor in the electoral outcomes and the quality of governance that will result therefrom. As leaders in our various communities and constituencies, we must adopt a politics of accommodation and brotherhood. And we must ensure that no insecurity threatening our country's peace can be attributed to our actions or utterances.
A motion on the need for the federal government to intensify efforts in curbing the incessant kidnappings in Nigeria is taken and adopted.
The House resolved to condemn in strong terms the kidnapping and disappearance of Mr. Enobon Williamson and other incidences of kidnapping across the country. Mandate the Inspector General of Police and other security agencies to intensify efforts in securing the release of Mr. Enobon Williamson from the den of kidnappers.
Next, a consolidated bill to amend the NYSC Act is presented for second reading but rejected by the House.
The amendment is bringing in people that school outside the country, and if they are schooling, maybe you can go do first degree, do second degree, and even do doctorate. Before coming back, they will have crossed the age of service. And when they come, issuance of certificate of exemption should be made flexible.
I don't think it is right for us to begin to encourage to have a two set of laws for different for the same citizens of Nigeria. Whether you are schooling outside the country, it's about opportunity. Those who are schooling within here might have wished to go outside the country. That you have now been situated and then put to this kind of whatever situation to school here should not be used as a disadvantage against any of our citizens.
Honorable Ibakpa is compelled to step down the bill for further consultation, just as lawmakers express optimism that some other portions of the bill to improve the welfare of core members would be considered when the bill is reintroduced in the near future. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Welcome back on News Round. Supreme Court restores former Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Mr. Godswill Akpabio, as the APC candidate for Akwa Ibom North Senatorial District. Join us again. Welcome back to News Round. Let's turn our attention to the courts, where it was victory at last for the former Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Mr. Godswill Akpabio, as the Supreme Court has restored him as the APC candidate for Akwa Ibom North Senatorial District. In a lead judgment, Justice Ibrahim Salawa held that the lower court lacked jurisdiction to entertain the case, adding that whatever decision arrived at by the court amounts to nullity. The Apex Court further held that the issue of nomination of a candidate for election borders on the domestic affairs of a political party.
The The ambience in this courtroom at the Supreme Court is calm as lawyers and members of the public attend this sitting of the Apex Court to determine the candidate of the All Progressives Congress for Akwa Ibom Northwest Senatorial District. Former Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Mr. Godswill Akpabio, had filed an appeal challenging the judgment of the Court of Appeal Abuja, which set aside his victory at the Federal High Court Abuja. In a unanimous judgment, the Apex Court held that the Appellate Court lacked the jurisdiction to entertain the case, as the issue of nomination of a candidate for election borders on the domestic affairs of a political party. The court also resolved all the issues formulated by Mr. Akpabio in his favor against the respondent.
Just re-emphasized what the law is, I must tell you, because some of these principles have variously been canvassed in the past, and the Apex Court, they've always had a position on these matters, that a political party has the sole duty of conducting their primaries, especially the National Working Committee of the party, and not a state chapter. This is what has happened. And for us, I think it's a victory for democracy, because we don't have sole candidacy in our system. You must contest an election through the platform of a political party. So at least Godswill Akpabio has the senatorial, the Akwa Ibom Northwest Senatorial District, and is on the ballot.
Well, we didn't expect anything less than what we've heard today. But as a party man, I simply want to say, in today's judgment, there is no victor, there is no vanquish. The party remains a family in Akwa Ibom State. Yes, everybody has the constitutional right to test the court. But today, the highest court of the land has settled all the crises that you've been hearing in Akwa Ibom State in respect of Akwa Ibom Northwest Senatorial District.
The Abuja Division of the Court of Appeal had on November 14, 2022, set aside the judgment of the Federal High Court Abuja, which ordered INEC to reinstate Akpabio as the right candidate of the APC for Akwa Ibom Northwest Senatorial District.
The Court of Appeal in Abuja has upheld the nomination of Mr. Akan Odofia as the Akwa Ibom State governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress. In a unanimous decision, the Appellate Court set aside the judgment of Justice Agatha Okeke of the Federal High Court Uyo, which had nullified the May 26, 2022 APC primary, wherein Mr. Odofia emerged winner. However, the Court of Appeal upheld the judgment of Justice Okeke, which dismissed the suit filed by Mr. Akan Okon, challenging the election of Mr. Umar Eno as the candidate of the People's Democratic Party.
The Court of Appeal Abuja Division is partially full with lawyers and indigents of Akwa Ibom State who are here for the appeals on the state governorship tickets of the All Progressives Congress and the People's Democratic Party. First, the three-man panel of justices of the Appellate Court set aside the judgment of Justice Agatha Okeke of the Federal High Court, Uyo, which had nullified the governorship primary of the All Progressives Congress held on May 26, 2022. The exercise produced Mr. Akan Odofia as the flag bearer of the party for the state governorship election. The panel explains that the lower court erred in assuming jurisdiction contrary to sections 97 and 98 of the Sheriffs and Civil Process Act.
Gladdens our heart because before now there has been great uncertainty in the party as to who is the governorship candidate in Akwa Ibom State. This judgment rendered at about 6 o'clock today, the 19th day of January 2023, has settled the point. Akan Odofia is the lawful, legitimate, valid candidate of the All Progressive Congress in Akwa Ibom State.
The same panel also sat on the appeal filed by Mr. Akan Okon to determine who should be the Akwa Ibom State governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party. Mr. Okon is alleging that Mr. Umar Eno forged the WAEC certificate that was submitted to the Independent National Electoral Commission. However, the panel led by Justice Elfreda William Daudu upheld the judgment of the lower court.
A reaction is that justice has been done. That essentially is what that is about. Justice has been done. In regard to our own case, the groundwork was really done at the lower courts. And I think that groundwork paid very, very well, because the cross-examination and everything, that's what the courts considered and came to its conclusion, and justice has been done.
By these judgments, the coast is clear for Mr. Akan Odofia and Mr. Omo Eno to contest the governorship election in Akwa Ibom State, unless their opponents choose to contest the judgments at the Supreme Court.
The President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, has asked the executive arm of government to urgently furnish the upper chamber with the details required to process the President's request for the restructuring of the 23.7 trillion naira Ways and Means advances. He gave this ultimatum after the majority leader informed the Senate that the absence of the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria and the finance minister, who were out of town recently, has hampered the work of the ad hoc committee set up to scrutinize the request.
Warm greetings among federal legislators as they attend the first plenary session in 2023. Senate President Ahmed Lawan welcomes his colleagues, reminding them of some urgent matters which require prompt legislative action, such as President Buhari's request for the National Assembly to restructure 23.7 trillion naira Ways and Means advances. President Buhari's request has raised eyebrows among lawmakers and financial analysts who are worried about the legality and Nigeria's debt stock intensified by this loan.
Between now and the next week, when we hope to close, we have some other things to attend to. But this Ways and Means, I think, stands out.
But the committee, which was set up to interface with the finance minister and CBN governor to get more details of the 27.3 trillion naira Ways and Means advances, has not made much progress.
We came up about 6 questions for the Minister of Finance, because there are 2 of them. The Minister of Finance and also the Governor of Central Bank. But unfortunately, we were not able to get the information that we are looking for. Why? Because the 2 of them were out of town.
Displeased by the majority leader's submission, the Senate President issues a warning to the CBN Governor and Finance Minister.
But let me also advise the executive arm of government. The Ways and Means request for approval before the Senate is a serious issue. The National Assembly or the Senate is prepared to consider the request, but we must have the necessary information. So it's for the executive arm of government to expedite action, and I imagine that this is not supposed to be a difficult thing to do.
On the 2023 general elections, which is to begin on February 25th, Senate President Ahmed Lawan assures Nigerians that the National Assembly will support electoral body INEC and other government agencies devoted to ensuring free and fair elections. Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
A helicopter came down on Wednesday near a nursery in the town of Brovary on the eastern outskirts of the Ukrainian capital Kiev, setting at least 1 building ablaze. At least 15 people, including Ukraine's interior minister, other senior ministry officials, and 3 children were killed. A photograph obtained by local reports showed the building in flames and smoke billowing. The crash comes in the 11th month of Russia's invasion, with Ukraine still reeling from the deaths of 45 people who were killed in an apartment block in a Russian missile attack on the east-central city of Dnipro on Saturday, January 14. And that's News Round in View, a recap of stories that made headlines during the week. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde.